angry guy here, and women are rapidly becoming homeless as men are avoiding dating them. Let's just go ahead and jump right into this article. So this is quite interesting. As you guys can see, it says here, record number of people seeking homelessness support due to rising cost of living. And this actually comes from Sky News. So this is a global problem that we're seeing happening everywhere at this point. And a rising number of Section 21 no-fault evictions from private rental tenants, often led by rising mortgage interest payments for landlords, was listed as a significant contributor. And, CA is a charitable organization that provides confidential information and advice to assist people with problems, including those related to debt and housing. And they record data on people that come to them to help, so they are able to be aware of changing trends and issues affecting certain groups more than others. In addition to those facing homelessness in October, almost 20,000 people were given a food bank referral, the third highest month on record, and more than 45,000 received debt help, the most since 2014. Right? And if we remember, like back then, we were still reeling from the Great Recession, and this is unbelievable. The rates are just so through the roof that I don't know what else to say about this. And the boomers, for example, they are a rapidly rising rate of people becoming homeless. They're the group that is rising the fastest in terms of joining the homeless population. And I have boomers who messaged me like, oh yeah, well, guess what? I have a house and I have all this stuff and I'm doing so well. And I basically say to them, yeah, you're the exception, not the standard. And they basically go, yeah, can't argue with you on that. And they disappear and I never hear from them again. That just shows you who they are as a generation, right? So the number of people seeking help with no-fault evictions were at or close to the record highs in all English regions, but have been falling in Wales over the past 12 months. The Welsh government changed the rules around renting on the 1st of December 2022 to protect tenants if landlords failed to make necessary repairs and give more notice ahead of no-fault evictions, right? I mean, this is just absolutely insane. Increased benefits with inflation so that they are back in line where they were a few years ago. That's one of the recommendations that the citizen group has. I mean, giving out more benefits, I just don't think it's going to solve the problem, and it's just going from bad to worst, to be very honest. It really is. And then, of course, this coupled with the fact that, men are refusing now to date and have relationships. We actually go over to BuzzFeed, and I know, well, this Yahoo, but this article comes from BuzzFeed. I know a lot of you don't like BuzzFeed, but this is actually interesting. This came out on November 19th, 2023, and this says, men are sharing tough lessons they learned from dating women. And gee, it's really tough out there, right? And check this out. As a young man, I've seen many trials and tribulations regarding dating. You expect the tough lessons and failures to become easier as you get older, but they don't. One, I learned that she is who she is and not who you want her to be, right? Number two, don't get into a relationship just because you're lonely. You quickly learn that being alone is way better than being with someone who annoys the living heck out of you. Number three, if she really wants to talk to you, she will reply to your call/text within a reasonable time frame. Obviously, there are exceptions and things happen, but someone interested won't leave you hanging. She wouldn't consistently take forever to get back to you. And that's just something a lot of guys are picking up on. The sad thing is that these women will still get back to you eventually, but that's after she's gotten back to a ton of other guys, or she's, went and taken a poop, or a bunch, all these other things in between. Like, you're less important to her than the toilet paper that she discards after she wipes. And that is the absolute reality, because as a result of social media, the ego is so inflated that they view most guys as nothing more than a plan B, someone that they can possibly use as an orbiter to get things out of. And this is it's absolutely sad, but it kind of reflects what I've said about relationships and dating in the Western society, that those times have come and gone. Number 4, I learned I had a ton of unresolved trauma from childhood, past relationships, combat, and life in general. I was dumb and thought that that's what men do, lock it in a mental box and never think about it again. Because of all that trauma, I felt like I didn't deserve love and threw a barrier up left and right, anticipating an eventual breakup. Because of this, I've been treating her not so great for years. And when she decided to break up with me finally, and that I needed therapy and blah, blah, blah. A lot of guys go through trauma. And a lot of that trauma is also not just from childhood trauma, but it's from past relationship trauma. And it's like men go through so many different relationships, and all of these relationships are kind of toxic, because, you've got people telling you to, you need to do this and this and this and this, but that's not consistent with normal human behavior. Men don't have time to play games in a relationship. So men have to work on themselves constantly. So when they take time to speak to a woman, a lot of the time, to go and talk to a bunch of different women at one time, that's something that a player does. And men don't have time to play games while they're working on themselves and building their empire. You can be in a relationship and still be lonely. Number 5, absolutely. 6, in a few words, and though they say it's better on a 500 day of summer, it was that her liking the same weird stuff that I do didn't mean she was my soulmate. Yeah, this is something I'm so painful with. It's so hard to explain this to guys. Just because she likes Back to the Future doesn't mean she's your soulmate. I was so foolish once. I met this girl, and I felt like I resonated with her immediately, because she was basically the image of my ideal woman. Everything I would look for in a woman, everything that I liked and disliked, at least initially. And of course, there were some things that, that I was overlooking, but it's like, oh, this is a soulmate. And I kept this going for years. And I kept in touch with this girl on and off for years. And she kept stringing me along for years, and it's hard, because that's how a lot of guys operate. She is not your soulmate, and I've been to this rodeo so many times, and it took me almost 40 years to learn my lesson and stop believing in that my person is out there crap from The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I'm looking for my person, and my person is there. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it, because it's like, that's what women do, and the thing is, women always believe that there's someone out there, someone better for them out there. They get married to a great guy. The guy gives them a great life, but they start to think that, it's not good enough. Someone is out there better for me, right? And this could be a guy who makes good money. He's a very family oriented guy. He's very handsome, good looking, tall, respectable, the kind of man that any woman should be very grateful to have. Look at what happened with Tia Mowry. This was the exact guy. She described him like this, that he was a great husband. He was a great husband, but she got bored in her marriage. And what did she do? She got bored, divorced him, returned to the streets, and now she's crying because the streets are miserable. Right? She went back to the streets, and the streets are miserable. And I posted a video, and there's a homeless woman who basically said that no matter what she does, no matter how many times she goes, for treatment for her substance issues or whatever, she always finds her way back to the streets, because the streets are just like calling out to her. And I've said that constantly, that there's this thing with a lot of women where the streets are literally speaking to them. The streets are literally calling out to them. Like, they literally use the word the streets. The streets speak to them. Oh my gosh. If she wants to hang out with you, she will make time for you. Yeah, a lot of guys don't understand this. A lot of guys don't understand this. Number 8, never put a woman on a pedestal. Love that one. Number 9, love yourself first and foremost, rather than trying to seek validation from others. I feel we struggle the most with this one, as the one thing we all truly try to run away from or hide from is ourselves. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with men, is that we're conditioned from a young age to give value versus receiving value. So we don't even know how to give to ourselves and how to prioritize ourselves and our needs. We'll prioritize a woman and her needs and even attempting to initiate a relationship with her over our own personal well-being. And that's how we've been conditioned by society, unfortunately. And, you know, we did not have, many of us, even if we had fathers, our fathers didn't teach us these things. And of course, our mothers were never going to teach us these things about women because they're not programmed that way. They raise their sons to basically be beta males, like a currency that are transferred from mother to another woman. It's a very sad thing, but this is the reality of it. Number 10, my wife taught me that my mother was flawed. I was 39, so I'm roughly right around my age. I'm 40 now. I completely reevaluated my teen and college years, my first marriage, and most of my life. She didn't tell me she taught me. She didn't tell me she taught me, but she showed me that I was neglected by someone I thought was incapable of this. A lot of dudes don't know this, but men, and some of you listening right now will know that because you've experienced it with your own mothers. They will literally break at least one of their sons to ensure that this son will always have to come back to them. And they know what they're doing. They do it subconsciously or even consciously because they want to make sure that that son cannot function in the world without them. And a lot of mothers would rather have sons that cannot function, but they will always have to come back to mommy because that way they will always be surrounded by those men and they will always have those men for utility. It's a very sick and twisted way of doing things. And very often you'll find that these women often have a very poor relationship with the man that they marry, or they cannot even maintain a relationship. And you'll absolutely notice that in many cases they'll also choose very bad men to be married to. Like they're not very good at choosing a guy of quality and substance. And where it comes from a place of narcissism, and it could also come from a place of trauma. But it's very terrible. It's a very, very terrible thing. 11, your parents do not always know best or have your best interest at heart. Did I not say that again? Your parents, especially your mother, will often not have your best interest at heart because she is subconsciously doing whatever she can to prevent you from progressing into an adult, to progressing into a capable man. She'll put you down. She'll shame the way that you dress. She'll shame the way that you do things. The only thing that matters to her is her controlling your identity. And it's extremely damaging because then you will grow up and constantly look for not only for validation from women, but also guidance from women on all aspects of your life, the same way you look to your mother for guidance. And this is how women can take advantage of you. I'm telling y'all. Number 12, even if you are everything she wants in a relationship, she still might say she doesn't like you. Her exact words were, "You are everything I want in a boyfriend, but I just don't want to date you. That hurts so much more than I could have imagined." 13, it takes 2 people to make it work, but only one to make it fail. Number 14, they can replace you within a day if they want to. They can replace guys. Not only can a woman replace you in a day, she can replace you typically in an hour. Okay? She can replace you in an hour. A day is generous. She can replace you in an hour. This is the reality that we live in right now. Why I say this? Because a lot of these women, they're married, but they have all these guys that they have listed out, right? And they have their phone numbers, and they'll put their phone numbers under the names of other women. They have all these sneaky things that they do. And they'll message these guys. They'll have relationships with these guys. They'll have lunch with these guys. And they'll do these things behind the backs of their husbands, right? It's like, it's shocking to me today when I used to work in a large company, and I'd find out that a woman was married. And I'm like, what? You're married? It's like, there's no marriage is kind of, it doesn't really mean anything anymore. You know, it's like something that people do, and then it just comes to an end at some point. You know, I mean, that's why 51% of all marriages will end in a divorce today. But what I suspect is that it's even significantly higher among the 25 to 44 crowd. You know, it's just something that people do temporarily today, and then it comes to an end, because most women can never be happy long term in a marriage. They get bored and they want out. You know, I've always said this, that a woman is planning her exit before she's planning her divorce before she even plans her wedding. Okay. 15, she can love you, care for you, and feel for you, but sometimes the terms of life dictate that you will remain merely two ships passing. Money, houses, kids, school, and circumstances are what allow relationships to happen, not solely love or passion. That's the thing, is that love is always conditional and transactional. I want something in touch with his emotions means only the cute stuff. Expressing any real vulnerability will be dismissed, or even worse, used against you at some point later. It's just unfortunate. It's just so unfortunate. No matter how hard you try, some things just don't work out. Dust yourself off and move on. I mean, guys, it is what it is. How you perceive her when you're infatuated is nothing but an internal projection onto her. It is what your foolish mind wants her to be, not who she really is. Very correct. Feelings for someone fade eventually and are just an emotional high. It's an illusion your mind creates. People much wiser than me say love is built, not found. You know, and of course, don't ignore red flags. Listen to your friends if they're saying the same thing over and over about her. One of the things that's frightening with a lot of young women today or just women in general, is that they'll tell you to respect their friends, but to question your friends. So if your friends don't like her, then you should question them. But her friends, you need to respect her friends, because her friends are her family. Notice how they disregard your friends, but automatically elevate their own. This is something that's really, really bad. Really, really bad. You know, and what's crazy is that a lot of these guys, they betray their friends, they end up alone, and then they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You know, it's like you cut these guys off, and then, you know, they're right for cutting you off. They're right for just saying, yeah, you're not coming back to the crew because, you know, you did what you did. What do you guys think about this? Women are rapidly becoming homeless as men are avoiding dating them. I want to know your thoughts in the comments regarding this. And by the way, guys, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. Let's talk about it there. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember, all roads lead to MWA. And walking away, and cheers.